Hello everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video lesson, we're going to be creating a challenge painting. And what these challenge paintings are is I come up with themes and guidelines, and you have to create the project based on those themes and guidelines. So in this particular challenge, it's going to be freestyle, tree and fence study with mixed orange. So what you're going to be doing is painting a tree, a study. So you don't have to do a full painting, but you're going to be painting like a tree, and then you'll do a little painting study of a fence, but you can only use mixed orange, not orange out of the tube like this. You have to actually mix the orange. And I'm going to show you some ideas that I have. You're going to need some script brushes and some round brushes, and they're also known as rigger brushes. This is my Alexander brush for oil painting. It's a sable, so if you're doing this in oils, it's perfect as well. But we're doing this in acrylic, so you need a script, some rounds, and I'll put that one back. That's an expensive brush. What you're going to do is, let me just move this down. So the colors that I'm going to be using, I'm using Hansa Yellow Medium, Decor Traditions Hansa Yellow Medium. I'm using Naphtha Red Light, and I'm using Alizarin Crimson. So I'm going to pull these ones out here. Get out of the way. So I'm using these ones here and Titanium White. So Crimson, Naphtha Red Light, Hansa Yellow Medium, and Titanium White. So I'm going to be using these to make my oranges. And if you're not sure where we're going with this, you'll have to go back some videos to watch actual lessons on this. So we started off, we created swatches of orange paint and made a value study out of those. Then we created some orange mixtures with Naphtha Red Light, Quinacridone Magenta, Pyrrole Red, Primary Magenta. Then did some, again, Naphtha Red Light, Naphthalus Hue, Naphtha Red, Permethrin Crimson. But we added in yellow oxide with other yellows. And then we did another extreme value study on the high key side, and then I showed you how to do a value study on the low key side. So refer to those if you're not sure how to mix orange, but you are not allowed to use orange paint. You must make the orange with a red and a yellow, and when you post your picture, you will have to specify exactly which red and which yellows that you used in the painting. So all you need to do, oh, I guess I should have brought my phone out. All you need to do, let me show you, is go to, let's say, oh, it closed. No, it didn't. Go to like Pixabay, pixabay.com, and do a search for dead trees. And you'll come up, hopefully the video will be able to pick those up. And you'll come up with a whole bunch of pictures of dead trees. And you can take anything that's pleasing. Like, again, we're not doing a full landscape. We're just going to be doing a study of a dead tree. And I'm looking for something like this. Oh, I've got paint all over me. That's actually a really good one. You know what? Why don't we do a full painting? That's actually really nice. Huh. You guys up for doing a full painting? That's a really nice one. Let's see if I can turn it. Okay, so let's do it this way. I'm going to lean this up here. My phone goes off every 10 minutes, so we're going to do a study, and then you can choose to do the painting. So how about we do that? And then we'll do the same exercise with a fence. So we're going to do a study of the tree and fence, and then another project we'll actually do the full painting, because I really like that. So I'm going to close that for now so we don't lose it. Freestyle means you're really not you're not tracing a pattern or everything. You've got your reference, and you're going to be doing it by hand. I'm freestyling out of memory, which is a challenge right now for anything. So what I'm going to do is basically when we work a tree study, dead tree, we use our script for most of the work. But what we also have to remember is that we have lights, base tones, lights, and darks. So we have our shadows, we have our base tones, we have our highlights, and we have our accent colors. We're not going to work realistic with this. We're just going to paint to create a study. And the challenge is basically using orange. So what I'm going to do is, I know that I can create, based on the charts that I did, I know that I can create a dark orange with Hansa Yellow Medium, and Alizarin Crimson. I can even go a bit darker than that. Bit darker than that. Nice orange. And what do we do if we want to see the true underlying color? Add a bit of white. Okay, so we're still on the orange. All right, blot my brush. So I'm going to get it started with that dark mix. You can't use black. You can't use anything other than red and yellow. So I'm going to load that up, and I don't think I made up enough paint. Hang on, let me get a little bit more paint. We need water with that. When you're doing anything with the script brush, you need water. So we're getting the dark in there. See how it's getting darker and darker and darker? There we go. So I'm just going to start off at the bottom. I'll start right here. Get a bit more water. This is where it's good if you've had a bit of coffee. I'm going to make sure that I don't have any water drops on my brush. I always forget to wipe that off. I'm going to start off here, hands straight up, and then we're going to move this way. And I'm going to be tilting my brush on a bit of an angle. So now I'm going to be in the way. I'm going to be touch, push, and I'm going to go up. And as I taper off, I'm going to lift the brush, almost like my airplane stroke. To touch, push. Let's see if I can go at a bit of an angle so you can see. I'm going to jiggy jag, come out here, jiggy jag, and come out like that. Okay, a bit more water, paint, and let's come back here. So now we're going to come here, and then we're going to go up at the top, touch, push, jig jag, and lift up. And what the jiggy jag does is it creates all the parts in the wood that's all those gnarly little bits. Creates all those gnarly little bits of where the branches are broken and all those pieces. Now I'm going to come down here, touch, push, lift. Now we're going to go on the side. Touch, push, jig jag, and taper off. Now let's just ground that in a little bit like this. Okay? Again, we're still working with the same mixture, a bit of water, that same mixture. Now we're going to be coming in and we're going to be adding additional little branches on these. So make sure your brush is at a really fine point. So roll that brush, and you're going to get really fine point. This takes some practice. Brush work takes practice. So we're going to come in and let's see, let's just start this one here. So you're going to go and you're going to find a gnarly little bit where there's a bump. You're going to come in very lightly, start back, and then at that gnarly little bump, and you're just going to come in. I ran out of paint there. I need a bit more water. Roll, roll, roll. Okay, you're going to come in. Let's do this one here. I'm going to make a little offshoot off this one. So start back, come in, and lift up. That's a bit straight. Let's see if I can curl that a bit more. There we go. Okay, then we're going to come in here for another little gnarly bit. Here. Make sure you jig jag. But you want to try to have your brush up on a bit of an angle, but you won't be able to see what the heck I'm doing. Okay, we're going to find another little gnarly bit. Come here. And you can even go up and over. Like that. So you're going to be making little, that's a terrible one, little offshoots off the little points. And as I'm loading the brush, every time I go over an existing color, it gets darker and darker and darker. And as this is a single layer, it's much lighter. And that's the natural progression of a tree because you've got the light from the top and it hitting the top, and that way it's lighter. So that's a really nice little tip for you to have when doing trees. And we don't want to add white to it at this point. So I'm going to come in here. You're going to be doing this, starting back, coming in and then finding a point. I'm going to try to do it at an angle here. Come in here. Jiggy jag, jiggy jag. That. Come back here. And let's just make another little piece here. And we can come here and make another little piece here. Now this one here. Oh, nah. Let's come in here, start further back. I'm just going to have to put a little bit more paint in there. And come in like that. Okay, and let's just do a little offshoot from here. Like that. So nice little gnarly piece right there. Oh, let's make this a broken branch. Come up. Oh. Here we go. Like that. So you see where I'm going here? How you can do all these nice little pieces. Try not to overpower them though, by making them all clumped together. Have not lights, have some nice space going in there. Some are dark, some are light. Let me just fix this up a bit more. Let's just ground this a little bit more. Okay. How does that look for a nice little tree? Now what we can do with this is that we can turn around. Let's just get a little... It's going to break up some of that space in there. There we go. So now we can turn around, we can start building a bit more light on this. So to build more light, how do we do that? Do we just add white? Well, that lightens the value, but I want to make it bright. So we're going to take the color and we're going to add more yellow to it. I want to make it bright. So let's take that bright yellow and we can come onto some pieces and just add over some of the areas that would pick where your sun's going to be. So if we turn around, we say, oh, I don't know, let's say our sun is right here. So the light's coming this way. So you're going to add the yellow. And this you can do upside down because you already know which direction it is. So we're starting with taking that value, that tone, that hue, and adding a bit of yellow to that. And if we come around and we see, okay, well, this really shouldn't be, well, this shouldn't really be have a lot of light to it. Well, it sort of would because this is all air passing through, so it's not really shadowed. But if you really want to shadow something hard, you can take Alizarin Crimson, pure, and you can come in and you can add some parts here, especially in the front, that wouldn't be, that wouldn't have any light, especially in the middle and on the bottom here. Like that. Okay. Then we can take basically just some yellow, a little bit of white. I'm going to start off this way first so it's easier to see. And then let's bring a little bit of that orange in there. And all we're going to do is hit some highlight where it's closest to the sun. Not a lot, because these branches are small. So if you're doing your piece much larger, it'll be really easy for you. But you don't want to cover the entire branch. And if you can, if you're doing it large enough, you're going to be doing it at the part that the sun would have the primary contact with. So, tip, make your piece a little bit bigger than what I did. And come in with just a little bit on the edge. Like that. So there's a nice little tree study being done only with orange paint. And we can do the same thing with a fence. Now a fence, we're going to go to a bit of a bigger brush. And again, think of if you go to Pixabay and you find a fence, one of the tips that you can have is you take your photograph, throw it into Snapseed, which is a mobile app, throw it into Snapseed, and convert it to black and white, and use the black and white to do your piece, because that's so much easier to judge your values. And if you don't have, let's say you don't have Snapseed, or your phone doesn't support Snapseed, there's online versions of free software. PicMonkey. I use Adobe Lightroom. I've got the Creative Cloud version, the Pro version, but I understand basic Adobe Lightroom is free, and you have, there's presets that would convert stuff to black and white, so that would be a good option for you as well. So in creating a fence study, so I'm going to basically take the same mixture, I'm going to get it really watery to create my initial sketch. And I'm just going to, I think I've got a post here, and I'm creating like a real rusty, what I'm thinking of is the posts, the fence posts we had at our farm, which was all done with railway ties. Okay, something like that. And then we're going to ground it, but we're going to ground it, let's say dark. Ground it dark. Now, if you're a watercolorist, this is right up your alley. So I want to start with the darks, but I want to warm it up a bit. So let's go into Naphthol Red Light and some Hansa Yellow Medium. Again, adding water. We got a nice bright orange here. It's a little bit bright. So I'm going to darken it a bit with Alizarin Crimson. But make sure you've got water in there. I'm going to come in, and with the fence, with the brush on its tip, when I like painting railway ties, I very, very sketchy on these. So again, if we take the sun in the same direction, if the sun is pointing this way, so this is going to be the brighter areas. So this area here will be quite dark. Again, I'm using it very watery to create that nice sketchy look. And now I'm going to go into, we need to get something a little bit brighter, so I'm going to go into the yellow. So Hansa Yellow Medium with a bit of the Alizarin Crimson. Come in here. Let's get into the brighter areas here. Get a little bit more paint than that. Right in there. Let's go right into some Hansa Yellow Medium Pure. So the whole thing is not to do a realistic painting, but just to basically get the general shapes and the actual values. So we have our dark for our shadows, we have our lights for our highlights. Now we have to go into some detail. So we're going to go into our script liner, and this terrifies me when doing this because I don't have a lot of control. Let's go into our orange with our white. Come in here, and what you're going to do is you're going to make rough broken lines, and this is what's going to be the highlighted parts of the railway tie or whatever you're using for your reference material. A bit more white at the top. Because it's watery, it's going to show through. The white is going to allow some of the underlying colors to show through. So by using these jiggy jag lines, you're creating all the grain in the wood. And I'm going to go a little bit light here, which technically would be dark, just to show you what we can do with this. Yeah, let's go right to the edge. I'll show you how to fix that. Okay, so we obviously went too far to the edge where it's supposed to be dark. What do? We let it dry. Dry. And once it's dry, you're going to take your orange, or if you want to make it into a shadow, your Alizarin Crimson to make a nice deep orange, a lot of water, and then you're going to glaze over it. You're going to add a transparent layer of paint over the dried white, and the white will still show through, showing some of the lines, but it's going to be much darker. But this has to be dry. I'm going to get my hair dryer. And let's just get a really dark mixture up here. No white at all. You're going to come in here. And you're just going to zigzag right over that. And you can see that the colors still show through. But it's much darker. And I can add, and the more layers you add though, you're going to lose the opacity. I need it really dark at the very edge. Let's see what I'm doing. Now remember, this is going to look really funny because it's orange. It's not brown. But that's okay. That's the whole purpose of it, is to get you out of that comfort zone. And you could add little knots. Oh, that's too red, but you know, let's leave it. And then we can turn around. Well, let's you know, adjust this shape a little bit. This is actually a solid post on this side because the wood is actually hanging on the other side. So we can fix that a little bit more. Oh, I went a little wonky there. My pad of paper is curved. There we go. And then we can take some of our yellow and come right in with a little bit of highlight on that side. And then you can turn around if you want and just, you know, just add a little bit of flowers or shape. Make sure it's with the orange. Let's get a shadow in here where no light is hitting. It's called laziness. Laziness. There we go. Take our orange a bit brighter. Take our yellow, which is much brighter. There we go. So there's your quick fence study. So remember, it's going to be hard. The whole thing is because it's in orange. That's what's going to make it really, really hard. It's orange. And then with this, you know, the only thing you've got left to do then is once everything is dry, you're going to come in and you're going to take a light value, come back in, reinforce some of the highlights. Make sure your paint is dry. Just on the edges. Make sure you don't go over this part because this is in front here. The sun's not hitting it. And your highlights on the back side will be further down this way. Not so much this way because that's casting a shadow. Okay. Like that. So there we go. So there's your studies. So you're going to create a tree only with orange and a quick fence study just with orange. And don't forget just to quickly just ground them. But make sure they are freestyle. You are not tracing a pattern. It must include a dead tree. You must include a fence. And it must be with mixed oranges. So there's your challenge painting assignment for today. You're going to take this. You're also going to put down what paints you use. So I'm going to turn around. I'm going to say I use Permanent Alizarin Crimson, Naphthol Red Light, Hansa Yellow Medium, and Titanium White. And these were all Deco Art Traditions. You're going to write the whole thing out. And you know what? Even take a picture of your palette so we can see your work. So there you go. So you're going to do your assignments. You're going to basically click the links in the description below depending on where you're watching this video. If you're watching it from YouTube, you're going to click the links in the description to go to the community or the Facebook page/group, whichever one you belong to. You're going to post your challenge photo there. Your palette would be a bonus. And the paint that you use, post that in the communities because you can't post anything on YouTube. So you're going to post it in one of those. And if you have any questions or a comment or you got stuck on something, post it over in the community because that's where I'm hanging out, the community and Facebook, because I can see pictures to go along with your questions. Alrighty, so hope you enjoyed this. Looking forward to seeing your challenge assignment. Remember, kick that inner critic out of the room. This is not meant to be realistic. It's meant to be a study focusing on color, not on realistic techniques. All right, freestyle, tree, and fence, and mixed orange. So I will see you in the next lesson. Until then, stay inspired.